This is a Canon Rebel Xti DSLR with its kit lens. It's a 18 to 55. It's actually not too different from the first DSLR that I owned, but this one I picked up off a marketplace super cheap so I could take it apart and see what makes it tick. I ideally want to keep everything connected and working. I'd like to maybe do some kind of a cool display where it's all the guts are laid out on board, but it still works, but we'll see if that pans out. It does work. You can see, turns on, takes a picture. So hopefully I'll be able to retain that functionality. Let's start with the lens. All right, let's see what happens. Oh, there we go. It wants to lift up. There's some kind of a shim. Trying to see what's in the back here where it doesn't want to move. I figured it out. There are two very tiny screws. One there and one there, right where the connector is. For anybody who cares, this so far has been 000 Phillips. They seem to be locking in there pretty good. You can really tell if the screwdriver is the right size and it really engages. Aha. All right, one piece off. I'm not sure, I've seen this kind of a thing on electronics before, and it just kind of seems like a shim. I don't know if it's actually just a shim or if it's a grounding thing or what. If somebody knows, I'd be curious. If you could leave that in a comment. This one, yeah, it's metal, super thin. Can't really tell what it does. So if you got an idea, let me know. I think you pull that way. And that pops off. So all that we've got connecting the two halves are these two, the red and black wires. When you turn the zoom ring, you can see everything moving, and you can see this comb kind of electrical contact. When you turn the zoom ring, that travels right around the center axis. It doesn't move down with everything else, it stays at that level, and that rubs on these sections of contact on the bottom of this PCB. And so I assume that pattern gives you a very discrete knowledge of where you are in the zoom range based on which one of those contacts are making contact. That's kind of cool. It's kind of like an encoder. I wish these wires had a connector. Looks like that might actually be some kind of an encoder situation there. We'll have to see. Oh, that's cool. You can see the flex. I need to get some better lighting here. You can see this flex line rolling over itself as the zoom goes in and out. That's going to be a lot more reliable than than a mechanical kind of sliding thing like that, because these pins are going to wear out eventually. The flex, as long as it's designed in the flexing range of that flex line, that should last a long time. You can see there's a motor right in there, some gear train, and then I think to that encoder chunk. Big hunk of metal here, a bunch of layers. Not exactly sure what that is. Oh, there's a bunch of gears in there. Wonder if I can get that whole thing out without just ending up with a pile of gears. All right, so you can see when I turn the focus ring, you can see all those gears moving. Hopefully you can see. So I really want to get this whole chunk out in one piece so I can see all that, but we shall see. Oh. Oh yeah. All right, so you can see the autofocus motor. So this is the toggle that was getting moved by the autofocus manual focus switch on the outside. And that's the switch right there. You can see when I move this, it's just moving the lever of the switch right there. Very cool little sub-assembly. All right, I don't see anything obvious that's holding this thing together, so I'm gonna kind of start experimenting a little bit. I'm hoping that underneath this rubber grip, maybe there's some screw heads that are holding things together, keeping things from coming apart. I don't really have any reason to believe that, but I've seen it done before. Aha. I think I'm gonna try these guys first. Two more tiny little screws here. See what that does. Oh, that just screwed into this tower here that had the little finger contacts. Looks die cast. You can see a seam line there, and it is metal. All right, so we got the lens in its track and out of its track. Okay, so that is moving. I don't know if you can see it all, but it's moving a lens on the inside, probably 3/4 of an inch or an inch inside there. All right, it took me slightly embarrassingly long to realize what was going on here. And then I realized, well, where the heck is the aperture in this lens? So I found it. If you move these little ledges, oh yeah. I know you can't feel it, but there's the tiny little clicks at each little position, and it's super satisfying feeling. That's the coolest bit in the lens as far as I'm concerned. Well, that and the autofocusing mechanism here. All right, so that's the guts of the lens. Let's get it all laid out here. Okay, let's move on to the main show. Let's bust into this guy. Oh, first, get rid of the battery. And our super tiny memory card. All right, let's just start tearing in the bottom. You know what? I'm gonna go magnetize this bit. I'll be right back. Okay, got my magnetizer, demagnetizer. Let's see if I remember how this thing works. So, it doesn't pick it up. No magnetization. I think you just go in and out. Maybe go back and forth. I don't remember. Oop. Something's happening. Oh, there you go. Okay. Back to it. So that was it's the little post that gets retracted when you push the button to release the lens, there was a little pin that would come up and register into the lens and not let you turn it and remove it. So that's what this little guy was. Okay, I think I've got all of the obvious screws. Oh, 2 more in there. It wants to go. Oh yeah. Okay, so this is the back panel of the camera. Bunch of flex cables. Not sure what that is, but I should be able to take these flex lines off. Oh, duh. Instead of taking off 3 flexes over there, why don't I take off this 1 over here? I know, sorry, all you EEs out there are yelling at me. I would be too. All right, didn't have to pull that hard. Okay, so this is all our controls all under here. So let's clean this up a bit. I'd assume this big piece of sheet metal is either kind of like used as like a heat sink or a ground maybe for everything. I don't know exactly. Maybe shielding. I don't know exactly why that would be there. Maybe somebody out there knows. This little sensor up here looks to be, I'm pretty sure that's the sensor that tells the camera whether your face is kind of right up against looking in the viewfinder that was right here. I think that's what that was. Oh yeah. All right, so we got our screen, got our touchpad. Really all it is a bunch of little membrane switches. Yeah, still not sure why that's metal, but I guess it makes sense. This is just two little fine wires that just needed to get from there to there. Not sure why those were so different than anything else. They couldn't get handled in here somewhere, but, and that's kind of that. There's nothing much else there. Just a couple little buttons falling out, pack of buttons. Again, those ones are little silicone backed ones. So yeah, nothing else there. Okay. All right, nothing that stands out to me as an ME. I guess electrical guys might have some input there, but probably some heat spreading going on. Let's see what else we can get apart. Oh, interesting. There's a watch battery in there. Keeps all your settings and everything while your main battery is out, probably. Didn't know that was there. I wonder if mine has that. I'm wondering if, again, they used any of this soft grip area as places to hide screws. Well, maybe not. Maybe just that's the whole side. All right, this whole front face seems to want to come off. The 1/4-20 mount here, I wonder if this just pops over it. Yep. Haha. Cool. Wow, nothing. Nothing attached to that. There we go. There's the back for that watch battery. Big capacitor right for the flash. A couple other little membrane switches for different functions here. This one I think was to pop up the flash. Big props for the same screw size everywhere. I haven't had to change a bit once. It's awesome. Just had to slide over the strap. If I put the screen back on and that ring back on, it would probably still work. Haven't had to cut anything. What's holding this top section on? Not much. Can't say it really wants to pop off. I'll give it another minute before I go into attack mode. You can see the tiny little micro switch that gets pressed when the battery door closes. That nub right there, I wonder what that, because you would normally have your hand over that, I wonder what that is used for, because there's obviously some kind of sensor right behind that. It's kind of cool, I can see through whatever this material is that's opaque. Just trying to get this top piece of plastic off. The knob does seem to be moving up with the rest of it, so I'm hoping it'll just come off with it, but not sure yet. There's a screw in there. There we go. Oh boy. Wow. There's a lot going on in there. Luckily, connecting the two halves looks like it's two connectors. I don't want to just pull, but I might. Oh, yep. All right, that seemed to come out all right. Try the same with this one. Yeah. All right, so this is the top. The camera, dial, flash. Not much that my mechanical eyes see. Here's the shutter button. Just a bunch of electronics. Could take that panel off. So this was like this. So the shutter button is that guy. This is the knob that you'd use with your pointer finger. To change functions. So rather than your mode selector being just a, well, I guess it is just basically a switch, but it's all kind of custom. So as you turn your switch, again, you've got these little bent fingers here that make contact with different segments of the ring. Based on what's connected, it knows what mode you want to be in. Okay. Slight technical difficulty. I think I lost just a little bit of footage. It wasn't a ton. I basically got this whole string of flex circuitry out of the top panel. All right, let's get back to it. There's not a super obvious next step, so I think I'm just gonna start taking stuff apart. This eyepiece is trying to come off. All right, so we got the eyepiece, lens itself, and a couple little gears for the eyepiece focus adjustment. Wasn't fast enough to keep that together before it came out. I think it's these, there's kind of 4 solder joints there that are holding this down. We've established I'm not the best at this, so. Haha. Using solder for structural joints. Come on now. I'm sure that means something to the electrically minded, but to me, I don't know, it's probably some kind of shielding. Almost. Still no friggin' screws under there. But at least I can get to this flex circuit, which is probably not helping. Wow, another one on this side. Tiny little bundle of wires over here. And it's time to feed the dogs. All right, tiny little cable, little wires going between the two. Haven't seen this type of connector before. I'm gonna just give a gentle tug. Yeah, there we go. All right, so right behind the shutter, guessing that's the sensor. Yeah, battery compartment. If you hadn't guessed, my hopes of putting this back together are pretty much out the window. Might be able to make a cool display, but I'm not going to be worrying about function. Now there's these two wires, a red and a gray. I can't see any connectors. They're just kind of buried. I've done so well, but adios, mystery wires. All right, we got the sensor. Let's see if we can get this metal frame off of here. I know there's just one hidden screw somewhere I'm not seeing. I think it might be right in here. Maybe it just needs to, there we go, spring loaded. Just need to go to one side. And I think these are our last screws. It's getting pretty light. Hidden right under this flex, I can see a screw head right under there. Does anybody know how I should be doing that? That little type of connector there? Because I'm pretty sure whatever I'm doing is not right. On the very right, in the tiny little spot there, it says push. You electrical guys are funny. I'm done pushing. All right, we got connections, flex lines. I think I just felt the capacitor. Say bye-bye to that. The image comes in here, up this way, then back to your eye. All right, so there's the viewfinder. You can see even the little focus indicators on the screen there. So for those that don't know, I should have explained this earlier. The image comes in here, bounces off this mirror, it goes up and out the viewfinder. When you click the shutter, this guy flips up, and then those louvered bits in the back there, that's the shutter that actually opens up and exposes the sensor. I wonder if I can put power to these lines and make that move. Oh, That's cool. That part will be staying together.